Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be talking about why I bought GJ last week when it was selling off, right? A little bit of a risky trade. I'm going to talk about why I took it fundamentally and technically. A lot of you guys kept asking, how did you get that entry? So I'm going to talk about that today. So this was before the trade. What I like to do is I like to sort of show you the thought process as it's developing, right? Because I don't just want to say, oh, look, this what happened. I got in right here. It's obvious, because obviously before the trade, it's a little less obvious, right? Hindsight is always 2020. So I like showing before, during, and after. So this was before the trade, right? Um, Essentially, it was ranging. Let's go down to the 1 hour. Essentially this was ranging for a long time. Almost all of last week GJ was ranging. Now I actually went long. I was long, right? I've been long bias, and the reason for that is, well, a technically it's in an uptrend, right? That's obvious, but um fundamentally the reasoning is the pound I believe is going to get stronger. Because I do believe there will be a Brexit deal, right? They've stalled a lot, and they wouldn't do all of this work just to say forget it, no deal. In my opinion, right? Obviously, that's not 100% going to happen, but I do feel confidently there's a higher chance they will get a deal than not, which will obviously help strengthen the pound. Now, why GJ though? Because I do believe the yen should weaken in the coming weeks. Why? Reason being is vaccines, 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 right? We've got the first couple vaccines that are working. We know that they work, right? When that first news hit, this is what happened. The yen weakened heavily, um, right? Because obviously GJ, if the pound strengthens, it goes up. If the yen weakens, it goes up. Also, right? That's just how forex pairs work. So I figured or I figure that okay, in the medium term, next couple weeks, we should give vaccine approval, right? It's coming, just a matter of when, because we already have working vaccines. It's just a matter of getting it approved and then getting it out there. So obviously, that's going to be very good for optimism. A vaccine getting approved by the FDA for use. That would all be very optimistic and positive, which, as some of you may or may not know, the yin is a safe haven, which appreciates when there's fear. And so the opposite of fear is optimism. So it does the opposite of that when there's optimism. Hopefully I explained that good. So basically, when there's hope and optimism and good news, the yin sells off. So, that's my reasoning for I do believe this pair should strengthen. Now it's just a matter of getting the right entry. This was not it, right? I figured consolidating, it probably shouldn't go too far below this area, right? So I figured this was an early entry, but looking at it, I'm just explaining everything here. It was hovering around the 61.8 moving averages, so it wasn't a bad entry. I did figure it might have been a little early, and I was correct. I took a small loss on that as this sold off, right? My stop loss was somewhere in this area. So I took a small loss, no big deal. And then it started selling off here, right? Started selling off, and I figured this was a really good dip buying opportunity because I couldn't see too much more fear. I mean, all the shit going on right now, I couldn't see too much more bad stuff happening that would really impact the markets. We're already in lockdowns. Europe's already in lockdowns. The economy already crashed. I mean, honestly, there's not too much. I mean, yes, there's always worse that could happen, but foreseeably, it couldn't get too much worse. So I couldn't see the yen appreciating all the way down to here. Now, likewise, the pound was a bit more of a wild card because this thing could sell off down to this area if there is a no deal Brexit, right? So that's really the main piece here is that they need to get a Brexit deal. At this time, there wasn't too much updates on Brexit. There wasn't any good news, there wasn't any bad news. They were still just discussing, trying to come to an agreement. right? So I figured, okay, this thing probably shouldn't sell off too much because there's still a chance they could get a deal, right? So all in all, this was a fair value price to buy it. It was a bit risky, but there was some technicals, right? Let's talk about the technicals and why I entered there. Well, like I said, it was already in an uptrend, and there was this very strong area, right? We had this very strong area. Price has reacted to it here, here, here as resistance, support once. That's another reason I took the buy here. And then it was now getting into this lower area of this range. Fibonacci here, sitting right at the 50, which was nice. Right, we had some moving averages right here, which is a little lower, right? So this was a bit more of an early entry. It would have been better. I mean, this area also would have been fine, but I didn't want to miss the move because I figured this was the move that would take GJ potentially, if there's a deal and a vaccine, up to this area and this area, right? So crazy good risk reward. If I hold this trade, I'm still holding. I mean, 5 to 1, 7, 8 to 1. Right, so really, really good risk reward on this trade. So that's technically why I took it. Fundamentally, why I took it. Some moving averages, a little bit far off, support, and a Fibonacci. Right. So that's it. That's basically the trade. So I hopped in somewhere around this area. My stop loss was going to be probably around down here, below this trend line and moving averages, and below the 38. I probably honestly would have tried one more time if it got down and maybe stopped me out if the fundamentals supported it, right? Because this is another area of confluence. We have this support, 38, trend line. Oops. Okay, there we go. Right, so another area of confluence around here. But, I felt good about this trade. So, targets. Let's talk about targets. So it's currently up. It's currently up 2 to 1 now. It's up in these areas, right? Let's just show that. So this is where it's at currently. Doing very well, and I've taken a little bit of partials, right? Because we're up 2 to 1 risk reward, but for sure, gonna hold up to here. We're gonna have to see how Brexit talks are this week. But I'm so far in profit. So I'm in a good spot. I'm going to keep holding at least up until, this extension. That would be a really nice move. We have to see if there is a deal. I think it could push up to here and then eventually past this, right? But I think mostly I would take at least half off, probably more at this area. But then final TP would, possibly be up around there. Reason being, right, then we're hitting this sort of resistance area previously from last year, or I guess the start of this year, right? So we're hitting that area. That's where I'd probably final TP at, right, for a nice 650 pips. Right, so I'm definitely more of a swing trader, as you can tell. I don't like to scalp or day trade. I like holding my trades for a nice fundamental bias. That plays out over a couple weeks. This one is a bit longer term, right? I'll admit, most trades don't have a TP of 600 pips, but given the fundamentals, right, you have to be sort of a little bit flexible. I think it has the strength to push up to here. Again, keyword, if there's a deal and if a vaccine can get approved quickly. All right, those are the key factors of all this. A little bit, also let me touch on U.S. stimulus talks. If a specialist should push up if we get a U.S. stimulus deal passed. As it stands right now, I don't expect that to happen, right? There's a lot of back and forth with that. Republicans and Democrats can't agree on a deal. So that being said, we have to see what happens with that. That's also a factor with risk sentiment. And the reason I care about risk sentiment, hope and greed, is because of the yen, right? Not so much the pound, but more so on the yen side. So anyways, it's working out nicely now, up 200 pips. And yeah, that's sort of the recap and the explanation. I hope this helped. This I just want to point out, this is not my usual entry. Right? Normally I'd probably get in around here. There's a bit more confluence, but I did not want to miss the move. I understood it was a bit riskier, but hey, I mean, trading's sort of about risks, right? And obviously, if you're risking 1% on a trade, or even 2%, one trade is not going to wipe you out, right? That's why you do risk management, is because one trade, shouldn't kill you. One trade shouldn't wipe you out. One trade shouldn't take out 5%, 10%, 20% of your account. So you can make more trades, right? Not over trade, but you can, if you're up on the week, up on the month, or if you just feel strongly, just take the trade. Especially if it has a good risk reward like this. And yeah, take the trade, especially with the fundamentals in place like this. I think it's pretty set to work out, but we'll see. Yeah, guys, I hope you enjoyed. If you really gained some value, please hit that like button and consider subscribing for more videos like this. And I'll see you guys in the next one.
I come from a town where most of the people are so close-minded. They go into school and they work in a job, but they don't even like it. I won't be put in a box. Nobody telling me what I should rock. Nobody telling me what I should